take it.
Simples, common one. Nice.
I got the terminal.
Okay, there is more ammo if someone needed.
Supplies. Orbital inbound. Bug outpost spotted. Prepare to exterminate. Orbital strike.
Firing gas strike.
Do you need help over there? Alex.
Dropping a pin. South. Far. Tagging map. South. Far. Engaging terminal. I got the terminal.
Oh, there is some bugs.
Engaging terminal.
Yeah.
Now,
How about a nice cup
you.
of liberty?
You have been a with line of freedom. Extract when ready.
Wow! Wow! Wow!
Pew.
Tagging
The
map.
explosion.
Far. Found something.
Cool dudes don't look at explosions.
I guess I'm not cool. I'm sexy.
No, you're not. Like, the hell are you doing over there?
Do not disturb that charger.
How'd you like the taste of freedom?
Fuck's sake. Oh, goodbye.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That it didn't kill it. Hey, at least he got it super weak.
Sending in an eagle. Bug outpost spotted.
Jumping bugs.
Hate it. So freaking much.
Let's wait until we deal with the flyers.
Nah, I
Fuck
already
off.
dealt with them. Very funny. Although it's kinda easy to shoot them when you have a shotgun.
You have a
Just-
problem shooting things with
I want to
shotguns
play
begin with?
EDF now.
No.
I was about to say. It's a shotgun. Now you have to do anything.
Yeah, but still they're flying around, not staying in one place. It's like hunting ducks, kinda. Also, there is a hell bomb on this hill. Just chilling again.
That means I should come over there and hit it.
No.
Dropping a pin. Extraction. 200 meters.
Extraction shuttle inbound.
Do we have any samples here, or we already collected everything?
From what I can see, I think we got everything.
Okay, good.
Found something. Fire in the hole.
ETA T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds.
For prosperity. Found something. Mag's empty. Slug tunnel free. Reloading. Requesting orbital.
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Requesting air.
On the side, Mike, get back.
Mag's empty. Requesting air support. Reloading.
Just so, gimme.
First of all, get rid of the small ones.
Mag's empty.
ETA T-minus 30
Very
seconds.
good. Yep. Oh, the fucking. There you go.
Are you full? Are you empty already?
20 seconds.
Yes. I don't have any more. There's a big one.
ETA T-minus 10 seconds. Clear landing zone.
Reloading.
And then running through the fire.
Throwing grenade.
He's just chilling again.
Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates.
Oh fuck! I couldn't look through that. My bad.
Oh,
Shit.
ammo.
Pelican 1
I'm
landing
panic
sequence
hitting buttons. My bad.
Watch where you're standing.
Don't do the shit. That's not good for your health or teammates. Thanks, the fuck happened? Did the shuttle landed on you?
Yes.
God.
Calling in reinforcement.
It proper aimed itself to fucking land on me.
Still somehow holding. That was
Joining the fray.
not a very good spot to land though. Just in front of me.
Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff.
Let's go. Get in. Get in.
Extraction
Yeah.
complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent. Liberty has seen you through.
Liberty.
Chocolate.
That was one for the record books. where
Yay.
all missions are
Everybody.
analysis.
Oh.
Welcome aboard, HellDiver. The Galactic War needs you.
Nice, I just need 30 more kills for my personal order.
Every sector in the galaxy must be purged of the alien menace. But a single triumph more, and the operation is complete.
Mission coordinates locked. HellPods Prime.
Eradication.
Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized. HellDivers to HellPods. Repeat, HellDivers to HellPods.
I'm gonna take like 5 minutes
Do you
to
like Laserpig? Do you
have a
like
break.
invading his privacy at 4 in the morning, getting into his house,
5
and
minutes.
doing
Suspended.
disgusting breakfast crimes? Don't judge me. Do you like asking him
HellPods
50
Prime.
million questions and then getting angry when he doesn't instantly respond? Have I said something incorrect in one of my videos and you're just desperate to make sure that I'm aware of it? Are you one of the several hundred people every day who email me asking for help with your history homework and wish there was a more personalized way you could call this one? Seen here, forklifting a Churchill after his daily 12th champagne bottle breakfast buffet. This footage, by the way, is from a British propaganda film, in which every time Churchill appears on screen, there is rapturous applause. Applaud! Applaud when you see the great leader! No, not that one! Speaking of the Convenator,
Covenanter.
that thing, after its design was rejected for frontline use, Britain had about 300 of them just, sitting about. They were mainly used for training. Then someone came up with the idea of a Home Guard armored division. For those of you who don't know, the Home Guard were a large group of volunteers.
HellDivers to
originally
HellPods.
LDV
Repeat,
unit.
HellDivers
Defense
to
volunteers, but
HellPods.
most famously were known as Dad's Army. They were made up of people too ill or too old or sometimes just too young to join the regular army, who in lieu of equipment were to creatively defend the nation during an invasion, leading them to raiding museums and pushing everything from trebuchets, crossbows, and black powder cannons into service, or just strapping boilerplates to your car. I'll maybe do a video in the future about this because honestly the weird and wacky and psychotic world of the LDV does not get enough attention. Now honestly, sometimes I wish Germany had invaded Great Britain, just for the comedic Wallace and Gromit shenanigans that would have ensued. But anyway, British tanks. So, where the fuck do you begin? Well, you start at 1920s and you build this gigantic tank with a lot of turrets. And then you realize that's dumb, so you take the turrets off. Now put them back on. Now take them off again. Now put one back on. Now take it off. Now that is British tank design in a nutshell. And now I have a and I shall do so again, I used to be a bit of a teaboo. I know, sick world of the LTV does not get enough attention. Now, honestly, sometimes I wish Germany had invaded Great Britain, just for the comedic Wallace and Gromit shenanigans that would have ensued. Anyway, British tanks. So, where the fuck do you begin? Well, you start at 1920s and you build this gigantic tank with a lot of turrets. And then you realize that's dumb, so you take the turrets off. Now put them back on. Now take them off again. Now put one back on. Now take it off. Now that is British tank design in a nutshell. And I have admitted before, and I shall do so again, I used to be a bit of a teaboo. I know, how dare I? But thing is, back then, anything popular and World War II based was always America this, America that, here's Germany, and if
HellDivers to Hellpods. Repeat, HellDivers to Hellpods.
The shit show that was the military enthusiast community, as it was back then, Britain might have well done nothing in World War II. America rode in, saved its ass like it did in the First World War, and how dare we complain, because tiny islands, size of Texas, blah 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 blah, etc, etc. I'll give you an example of how bad this was. Company of Heroes, not the first one, not the shit second, had an expansion that added 2 new factions. The SS, sorry, the Panzer Elite, and the British. And would you believe, in some multiplayer matches, I would get booted out for playing as the British. Because only dumb people play as Britain. This was until everyone realized the British arty doctrine path is the most OP thing in the existence of that game. You build 3 25-pounders and just nuke your enemy into rage quitting. Anyway, but when you are British, and you're in that environment, you start to develop mentality. And that mentality is, fuck you, America. I shall defend the honor of my nation. Keyboard warriors, assemble! So, you know, it's taken a long time to kind of, you know, just dial that back a bit, you know. History. So, problems of British tanks. And yes, I know this video is supposed to be in defense of the Crusader. I'm getting there. Shush. Problems of British tank start with the 1924 Railways Act. Only the top tier excitement on this channel.
Hellpod launch suspended.
Now, this is an act that is absolutely 100% not trying to prevent big American truck companies from making the railway obsolete by making it law that any cargo over 4 tons has to travel by rail. Which was great for the railways, who got to keep building obsolete steam trains right up to the 1970s, until suddenly had to replace them all with diesel trains in a time where any random fucker could just walk into the Department of Transport with a crayon drawing and say, "I've designed train," and British Rail would go, "Great, build us 300 please." Which is why when it comes to British diesel trains of the 1970s and 80s, there are so fucking many of them, and they're all weird as fuck. So, good for the railway companies, but bad if a war suddenly happened and you suddenly needed a lot of tanks and trucks and armoured cars and various other things, and that's a bit of an issue when you find that the biggest thing your country has produced is a 3-ton Bedford. Fun. Now, add to this fact that Britain had lost all of its equipment, and I mean all of its equipment in France, and suddenly a lot of pressure was applied to an economy that had been built by pacifists on the understanding that another world war would never happen until everyone in the current government was either dead or couldn't take the blame. Add to that the very sudden material shortage, a food shortage, and you're being blockaded by one of the most efficient and ruthless U-boat navies in the world, and then Germany starts invading you. And you can imagine why, when Britain took stock of its situation, just a little bit of poo came out. Let me give you an example. All of the Enfield rifles Britain took to France, that was all of them. That was all they had. They could build more of them, but the factory that had built them had expanded during World War I, but during the interwar period, it had really only produced limited runs of experimental rifles. 100 here, 100 here, that the British really didn't want because they were just too expensive. And now suddenly they had to build hundreds and thousands of new rifles, plus all the ammunition that they needed, just when all their workers had been drafted into the army. So ammunition in Britain was a little bit in short supply. So short supply, I'll give you another example here. Britain had this ring of steel that looped around London and formed a defensive perimeter right up to about the north of England. Every gun Britain had was on this line, from leftover anti-tank guns, old World War I artillery guns, to guns that had been ripped off decommissioned warships. Each gun on average, so keep in mind that means half of them had less than this, 10 shells each. So, Germany had the capability and invaded right there and then, Britain's chances of holding out were about as fucked as a femboy at a furry convention. Thankfully, they didn't. Germany proclaimed it needed total air superiority before a land invasion could begin, and Operation Silo was more of an intimidation tactic, not an actual battle plan. So, with no army, no air force, a navy that desperately needed more destroyers to escort convoys, and now an air invasion underway, Britain needed to build everything very, very quickly, and priority was given to aircraft and warships. The tanks had to make do with whatever was left over, which was train factories, and you know, we've been over that.
Oh, that chicken in the ass, stick a dick out of your nose.
Alright, fine! So the British
HellDivers,
cruiser
HellDivers.
tank starts off with the A9. This was designed to be cheap, easy to produce, and have as many off-the-shelf components as possible. It was thinly armoured, and though accepted and put into service as the Cruiser Mark I, only about 100 were ever built, before being replaced by the Mark II. This removed the stupid frontal turrets and up-armoured the entire vehicle. But it wouldn't be until a little later that the British became interested in something called the Christie's suspension. Oh boy. Experiments with the Christie design led to the A13, the Cruiser Mark III, the cutest tank ever built, and honestly a personal favourite of mine. Honestly, I don't play War Thunder anymore, but when I did, this was the tank I'd dig around in. I love it. The A13 was fast and combined that speed with a pretty decent, at the time, 2-pounder gun, making it everything Britain wanted in a cruiser tank that was eventually upgraded and mass-produced with the additional spaced armour. But it still wasn't enough. The Brits were concerned that though their tanks could be fast, that thin armour would make them vulnerable to anti-tank rifles, to which was said a tank can be as fast as it wants, but no tank can be faster than a speedy bullet. So Nuffield Liberty was contracted to come up with some designs combining their engine with the Christie suspension to create a sort of medium cruiser tank, one that was fast, armed with a 2-pounder, and had a Christie suspension. Oh god. So the results, the two results in fact, were the
Covenant.
and the Crusader, with the Crusader becoming the favourite choice, because the Covenanter was a fucking piece of shit. Now, when you hear tales of the Crusader, you could be forgiven for thinking that this is the most unreliable tank in history, as anyone who talks about it immediately starts with how unreliable it was, as if every other tank at the time wasn't also suffering reliability issues. Even David Fletcher, Tank Jesus, during a tank chat on the Crusader, cannot resist but talk about its reliability issues. And the thing is, that's not untrue. This tank was forever breaking down, and the main factor behind it was the air filters, which were located on the outside and were in the perfect position that when the tank moved through the loose ground, huge dust clouds got kicked up behind it, and that would just blow straight into the air filters and clog them up. Now this was not unique to the Crusader. I mean, there has been such a huge emphasis that has been placed on this being something that the British, and only the British, suffered. But of course the Germans suffered it too. Or did it never occur to any of you why there are no Stugs in the desert? Now again, this is just going back to the double standard of historians. German tanks were commonly known to be unreliable under stress and had difficulty coping with the harsh terrain, unless they were in the desert, where they worked perfectly all the time. Now why is this? Now, believe it or not, there is not a lot of information out there from the German perspective, and a lot of what we do have comes from a very specific source. That source
HellDivers
is,
to
and has
HellDivers.
remained, the
Repeat.
biggest source of
HellDivers to
disinformation of the
HellDivers.
Africa campaign. In spite of numerous attempts to prove that what it says is a lot of bullshit, it has remained one of the biggest checked out items at the Imperial War Museum where it is housed. Item number 5668 if you want to go check yourself. It was published as a book, translated into numerous languages, and is even for sale at the Tank Museum. The Diaries of one Erwin Rommel. And the myths that surround Erwin Rommel could fill a library, and he deserves a video all of his own. Don't worry, his time will come. But for all his reputation as a military strategical genius, his real genius was in propaganda. The cameras back in Germany loved him, and Goebbels found that film reels showing the setting of the African sun, glinting of well-presented tank formations, was far more romantic and far more appealing to audiences than the barren steppes of Russia and troops fighting through mud and rain. Goebbels would turn the entire Africa campaign into a propaganda war. Rommel would be given his own camera team, with each and every shot reviewed by Rommel himself, and if the lighting was wrong or if he didn't look heroic enough, the entire scene was reshot. Rommel has been given something very few of us will ever have in our lives. He got to write his own legacy. Every piece of footage, every report which mentioned him, even his own diaries, were carefully curated to create the story of the Desert Fox, a man of poor birth, raised through the ranks through his own cunning, brilliance, and heroics, despised by the other generals for not being Bavarian, and cast out to the desert with second-rate equipment and soldiers, in which he would mold into an elite force and fight a hellish war against the British, outsmarting them at every move, blaming his failures on the generals sent to supervise him, who would squabble over resources, and the
HellDivers
Italians.
to Hellpods.
Now, Hitler
Repeat.
saw the Desert War
HellDivers
as a
to
less
Hellpods.
important secondary front, and with his attention entirely focused on Russia, Rommel was pretty much allowed to do as he pleased, provided the reports which came back were always good news. His legacy was allowed to continue largely unquestioned, and after the war, and with West Germany now a founding part of the NATO alliance, the public, who had gone for years both hating and fearing Germany, had to now suddenly reverse and start liking them again. This is where the idea of the honourable German general, who commanded respect and had nothing to do with any war crimes, became a highly beneficial propaganda piece to help portray our once enemies, now friends. Now, it's at this point of history we start to see the division between Germany and the Nazis in popular media. The SS and Hitler's elites become the scapegoats and are blamed for some of Hitler's more interesting policies that you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube, and the Wehrmacht, the regular army of Germany, becomes sterilized. They were not the SS, not the Nazis. They were just regular Germans who were misled, and they're actually just regular people like you or me. This is where we get the birth of the clean Wehrmacht myth, one of the most persistent and annoying myths of the Second World War. But it also gives birth to the idea of the noble German general. And while many others would publish writings trying to present themselves in a better light, it would be Rommel, who never served on the Eastern Front, who never committed any war crimes, and was respectable, well-liked, handsome, and cunning, like a fox. And best of all, he wasn't a member of the Nazi Party, and may have even been implicated into a plot to kill Hitler, which was totally because he was secretly good, and not at all to advance his own political career. Overnight, Rommel goes from being a name on an intelligence report to a worthy adversary. His son is granted numerous awards and becomes friends with both Patton and Montgomery. Rommel, or at least
HellDivers
the
to
Rommel's
Hellpods.
legacy
Repeat.
of propaganda has
HellDivers
created,
to
becomes the
Hellpods.
new face of the German army. And if Germany has a few more like him, then the Soviets don't stand a chance. Now this bleeds into our next problem, and it's a big one. As much as Rommel is a work of propaganda, the Americans would go on to produce their own, far worse version. Patton. Patton is another persona often regaled as being a military genius, feared and respected by the enemy, but in reality was a master of propaganda. America's problem was that support for the war was low. Britain was the old enemy, and while the two had come together briefly at the end of the First World War, there had been an alliance of mutual understanding, and America's position on Europe was a largely economic one. When America officially entered the war after the attacks on Pearl Harbor, you need to understand it hadn't been that long ago that the first battle of the Second World War had taken place in Times Square, over which side America should support. But now, after being war crimed by the Japanese, Americans were naturally frustrated at why American troops were being shipped to a desert on the other side of the world from Japan to deal with an enemy that was, quite frankly, someone else's problem. Most Americans were confused as to why they had to be involved in this war while Japan loomed over them. They considered the European theatre to be a largely British show, and were not in favour of sending people off to die for those slimy redcoats. What the Americans needed was a hero, and Patton gave them just that. A brave, smart-looking, badass tank commander who led from the front, who gave outrageous speeches, who swore and smoked, gosh, how daring, and who didn't listen to his British superiors. The propaganda reels loved him and his image of smart-looking, professional American soldiers. It gave the Americans hope, both at home and in the US Army. It made them feel like they were actually part of the war and fully capable of kicking some ass, as opposed to just helping out the limeys. This all means that the American perspective of the Desert War is typically told from his perspective. America talks about America, so what the British were doing before America showed up is largely unimportant, hence why everything you read about British tanks in the desert, you'll largely hear about how bad it went for the British, how their tanks were too thinly armoured, unreliable and had weak guns, up until 1941 in Operation Crusader, when the British get the American M3 Lee, which takes Rommel completely by surprise, huge victory for the British, and then at the second Battle of El Alamein, where the British show up with yet another American tank, the Sherman, taking Rommel completely by surprise again, great victory for the British. But has all of this been taken just a little bit out of context? Now, as much as the emphasis has always been placed on Britain not succeeding until it gets American-built tanks, there is a lot of misconception as to the value those tanks had on Britain's success in the Africa campaign. You see, even before those M3 Lees arrived, Rommel's tanks were not exactly performing well. Though through his diaries, Rommel insists that by the end of 1941, all of his tanks were replaced by the Panzer IIIJ. In actuality, half of his force was Panzer Is and IIs, and out of the Panzer IIIs he did have, less than half were equipped with a longer 50mm gun. Just to correct a common mistake, not all Mark IIIJs have that longer gun. The J designation was for a Panzer III that had been up-armoured. The longer gun variant was the L, though some Js did actually have it. See, there's a few sources out there that see Panzer IIIJs being listed as having arrived in Africa and have presumed them to in fact be Ls. It's a minor detail, most people get it right, but it is why you see a lot of discrepancy between Africa Corps tank numbers. Contrary to popular belief, British tanks had very little problems facing off against their German opponents, with both the Crusader and the Panzer III able to kill each other at similar ranges. But, you may exclaim, we have British war diaries, hundreds of them, and a lot of them, especially by tankers, seem absolutely thrilled at getting the idea of an American tank. Okay, so there are two issues here. Firstly, you'd be wrong to assume that the M3 Lee and the Shermans replaced the Crusader tanks in Africa. They did not. Britain had something of a tank shortage, so when the Africa War began, everything it had left was being pushed into service. This included the old cruiser models, many of which, because they had done rather well against the Italians and even the early German tanks, remained in service. Thus, British tank units remained a hodgepodge of different tanks. Though there were some attempts to standardize this, it wasn't uncommon for a single tank unit to have a Mark I, a Mark II, a Crusader, and a Stuart, all tanks with widely different capabilities and operating styles in one unit. So about half the tanks the British actually had were reserve tanks, not particularly well maintained, falling apart from the harsh desert conditions they were being forced to fight in, so of course they were absolutely overjoyed to be getting something more modern and a hell of a lot more powerful. I mean, if you've been stuck in the desert for over a year with this Mark I cruiser tank rattling all around you, knowing there's less than an inch of hot steel between you, a German shell, and a big box of ammo, if your commander were to come along to you and say, alright, get rid of that thing, here's an M3 Lee, it's like Christmas come early, it's fantastic. The other issue, of course, is that while everyone focuses on the unreliability of the Crusader, it kind of glosses over one of the main issues. The Crusader has a very low profile. It was designed to be as small as possible, meaning it could be lighter and much harder to hit. This also made the tank
HellDivers to Hellpods.
incredibly cramped inside.
HellDivers
Not as
to
cramped as
Hellpods.
the T-34, but still.
Thanks, taking too long to relax.
Length.
Emptying out your bowels requires stuff. A lot of relaxation.
No,
Drink
it's not.
more apple juice
The water.
and water. Get some more fiber.
There's more people that want to play, but HellDivers is restricted to 4 people. Do you guys want to play War Thunder? Oh wait, that's still 4 people.
War Thunder's Breach.
I don't even have War Thunder. I never played it.
A game for more than 4 people.
Hellpod launch suspended.
Are we going or what?
I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, if there's another person waiting, like, I've got to drop off here soon.
There is someone waiting for there to be a slot.
I gotta drop off like
Hellpod
super soon
launch
anyway because
suspended.
of work. So
It's up to you, man.
Allied destroyer has left squadron.
All right.
I guess I'm gonna go get cleaned up, start getting some clothes on anyway.
Yep. See you later then.
See you later.
Pretty uncomfortable, and probably actually a lot worse than the T-34 because, well, these tanks were made of steel in a desert with no air conditioning. A few diaries I have read talk about the crew being mostly naked inside, so an American tank that wasn't so cramped was like a dream come true. Finally, I can drive the tank without
Helldivers
having
to
to smell
Hellpods.
my commander's
Repeat.
sweaty
Helldivers
balls.
to Hellpods.
Of course, the M3 Lee had its own problems. It could not hold down and still fire its primary gun. Its silhouette was stupidly high, and that main gun was not only difficult to aim, but
Allied
attempting to
destroyer
fire
has
on the
joined
move, it
squadron.
caused the whole tank to swing violently to the side. It was also a bit of a gas guzzler, and its operational range was far below what the Brits had been used to. The Stuart had a similar problem. By 1942, the Sherman has arrived. Americans and a lot of Brits like to place emphasis on this being the moment the Brits finally have a tank capable of taking out the German panzers. But as I said earlier, contrary to popular belief, British tanks had relatively no issues in dealing with their German counterparts. In fact, in many ways, a lot of British tanks were superior to the things they faced. I mean, Panzer 1s and 2s were theoretically useless. The Panzer 3 was a pretty even match, even by the time the newer L models had begun to arrive, which had given the Germans back the advantage in range. The Brits had started to upgrade the Crusaders with a more powerful 6-pounder gun, negating that advantage. The Mark III Crusader also introduced ventilation fans, a bigger engine with a more powerful water cooling system, which negated an air filter problem, and even thicker armor. Panzer IV was largely outclassed by everything else, being sluggish and difficult to operate in the terrain, and with that low-velocity 75mm gun, it could barely penetrate anything. The F2 variant, with its much more powerful and longer 75mm cannon, did help make the Panzer III one of the more deadly tanks of the desert. But these were prioritized for the Eastern Front, and Rommel would only receive 27 of them. Now, the arrival of the Sherman would coincide with a lot of changes to the way the British operated in the desert. The upgraded Crusader was one of them, along with the introduction of the new Churchill tanks. The Tildas were being replaced by the Valentine, etc., etc., etc. But there was one more major, massive change. I know, this is a video about the Crusader. Why am I going back to the T-34? Well, I want to talk to you about the double standards of the lazy historian, briefly. I've mentioned it before, and its meaning isn't really too hard to penetrate. If you were to scroll through the comments on my video about the T-34, you'll find hundreds upon hundreds of people all saying the same thing. Numbers. It's all about numbers. Numbers, man.
Initiated.
Which, if you want to embarrass yourself by saying that, that's fine. I mean, it's bullshit. bullshit, and I think you know it's bullshit, but let me explain why the T-34 is important here, okay? You see, the double standard is when talking about the T-34, all anyone can ever talk about is how the Eastern Front was a war of attrition, a numbers war. This is because the average person hasn't sat the fuck down and thought about what that actually means. That people don't typically think. Something else tells them what to think, and they think that thing until something else comes along and contradicts it. And either they change what they think, or they double down and proclaim that the new information must be wrong, because they once heard differently. And that's how you end up with commie-boos and theraboos and so on and so forth. I use commie-boos instead of hankies because hankies is more of a political reference and it's an old British term for members of the communist parties.
Oh.
Some people like that will happily tell you, ah yes, the T-34 was a terrible tank, but they sure built a lot of them, and that's what mattered, because numbers matter in a war. But when it comes to Rommel, well, by mid-1941, he has 30 serviceable tanks. The British have 600, and yet he was still winning. He was still winning battles. He was still able to beat back the British in spite of being so ridiculously outnumbered. So to try and explain that, people jump on the first thing they've heard about Rommel.
There is a
Ah,
whole
but he was a
phone of
cunning
me.
fox of a man, the Desert Fox, a military tactical genius. And for some reason, the people who say this shit never seem to be able to quite connect the dots. Like they seem to think that Russia didn't have any good generals.
What? What? Oh. Shit.
Out of ammo. You will never destroy our way of life. Reloading. Requesting sentry.
Oh. Never mind. Bounce.
Mag's empty. Orbital inbound.
It bounced off.
Requesting air support.
Never mind.
Mag's empty. Tagging map. West. On my position. Calling down a support weapon. Sending down support weapon. Calling in orbital strike.
Alex, get out.
Requesting orbital strike. Calling down fortification.
There, bug bridge, this way.
Bug tunnel breach. Calling down a sentry.
have this one here.
Liberty emerges victorious yet again. Extract when ready.
This is Pelican 1. I have visual on the extraction zone. Pelican 1, landing in progress. Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Liberty has seen you through.
Who is there? Bird noises.
I crashed.
Huh?
I crashed.
Can you stop crashing, my guy? God damn it. Why am I from the freaking laptop and I'm not crashing?
You tell me.
That much
You
as we
probably
do.
you probably have a newer CPU than me. I have a Ryzen 2700.
I don't remember which one I have.
I'm using a second generation CPU. It's really old compared to most CPUs being 5th generation or 7th generation Ryzen. I am many generations behind, and this game is designed for like 3rd or 4th generation Ryzen. I should probably look into it actually.
Ryzen 5000 series. Yeah. Well.
Super Earth, our home. Prosperity. Liberty. Hi there. Democracy. Our way of life. Oh, hello.
Oh, do we connect to you again?
Yeah.
Allied destroyer has joined squadron. Engaging orbital thrusters.
I think we completed it.
No, we have one
Yeah.
mission.
No, we completed it. We completed the one that after I crashed.
Ah, well, yeah, we completed the mission.
Allied destroyer has joined squadron. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
Oh my goodness! I think I can actually afford a new CPU. I got paid a little bit of money recently, and it and I just asked Google, not Google,
Allied destroyer has
Bing,
joined squadron.
like, hey man,
Engaging
what's the
orbital
cheapest
thrusters.
processor can get for my motherboard, but the most powerful? And it's like, hey man, look into the
Orbit
5700X. That shit is 5th gen for under 120. What?
The HellDivers receive their orders from the Ministry of Defense, and I mine from the Ministry of Truth. In this way, the hands of liberty are intertwined.
Oh, I'm broke. Fuck. All my money is gone. Shit.
Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods primed. Launch initiated.
Let them come.
Heavy,
Let
on my
them
position.
roar. Let them face the insurmountable might of the HellDivers.
support weapon. Blasting advanced weaponry. Calling in orbital strike. Requesting advanced weaponry. Request approved. Reinforcements on the way. Requesting orbital strike. Mag's empty. Request approved. Reinforcements on the way. Supplies. Marking location. West. Tagging map. Northwest. Far. Bug tunnel breach! Negative. Sending in an eagle. Say hello to democracy! Requesting air support! Reloading! Sample collect. Bug tunnel breach!
Fuck's sakes. This game really doesn't want me to play.
Buttons.
Yep.
I'm pissed.
Why?
Did the game crash again or what?
Yes.
Keep pressing the buttons.
I'm pressing the buttons. I needed to reload the shit.
How are you guys
The
even
rocket
still
launch.
playing when I crashed?
Because
Because
the
once
hosting.
we enter mission, you don't need to be the host anymore.
Yeah. The hosting is basically goes to another
Thank you
person,
so
I guess.
much.
Yeah.
If the main person like leaves. Fucking bullshit. Don't ow oof. They're behind. Go. Go go go. Oh, there is 3 of them. Good. Okay, buttons. Yippee fucking kaya.
Super Earth, our home. Prosperity. Liberty. Hi there. Democracy. Our way of life.
Oh fuck,
Now I see.
I missed again.
But freedom doesn't come free. No! Sweet liberty! No!
Yeah, I will not shoot it. I will explode you.
Alright. New plan.
Look familiar?
Stop pressing the buttons.
Scenes like these are happening all over the galaxy right now. You could be next.
I will
That
press the
is,
button that
unless you make the most
Stop
pressing
important
the
decision
buttons.
of your life.
I'm not pressing, I'm just saying,
Prove to
but I
yourself that
realize
you
that
have the
they will
strength
probably take
and
the
the
stupid
courage
way.
to
Okay.
be free.
Join the HellDivers.
Become part of an elite peacekeeping force!
Yeah, they will take the normal way.
See exotic new life forms.
Not going here.
And spread managed democracy throughout the galaxy.
Bug bridge again over there.
Become a hero. Become a legend.
Behind us again.
Become a HellDiver.
No, you do not. No, shit. Twice. Why they are taking this way and not that? Fuck. What was that?
Alright.
Press a few buttons. I'm reloading. Yep. Good. Right.
Alright, it's based on how many are active at one time.
3 more people. Are they coming? They're coming.
Fiber, what did I...
He... Okay, he is okay. He's in the call. I thought he wasn't.
Allied
Cyber,
coordinates locked.
listen to me.
Let's go. Ah, wait, let's go.
Mission
We'll go there.
coordinates locked. Hellpods primed.
Alright, you just have to press the buttons in sequential order now, instead of pressing them all at the same time.
What do you mean?
I mean, you have to wait until they reach the goal before you press the next button.
Go now and shoot you forward. Remember this. Every day is a good day to
You
die
better said
for
like that from the
democracy.
start, I think.
No, I didn't know that because they changed it on me.
ETA T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds.
Because now they force the spawns close to the evacuees.
Hmm. Next stuff is still there.
Tagging location. Requesting sentry.
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Requesting advanced weaponry.
I stole it. Wow, охуенно. Нам нахуй, блядь. I have a question why.
Calling in reinforcements.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds.
Ready to liberate.
ETA T-minus 20 seconds.
There was things to take. Okay.
ETA T-minus 10 seconds.
Sending in an eagle.
Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates. Pelican 1 landing in progress. Bag's empty. New mag. Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff.
Requesting air support.
Hey.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Victory was never in doubt.
Rarely see liberty dispensed so rapidly.
What?
Always good to have another hero on board.
Well, now, that was easy. If I
HellDivers,
stopped crashing.
take command of the galaxy's liberation.
Oh, someone else's host. That's probably you, Jesso. You're the host now. Well, looks like you're the captain now.
I need food.
Okay.
I actually wanted to go to another group of my friends who was
Allied destroyer
about to
has
play
left
HellDivers.
squadron.
Okay.
Me Whoop.
Reminder, Element 710 is safe and
Okay, so I will
environmentally
disappear
friendly.
for now.
Any
See you
rumors
later.
of E710 spills are the work of dissidents seeking to undermine our way of life.
The enemy has launched a cowardly attack against one of our planets. Will you defend it?
The automatons. Heartless, killing machines. It is an undeniable fact that they do not have hearts. And heart is what Super Earth is all about. Prove your humanity.
Propaganda.
Show you care. Enlist in the Super Earth Armed Forces and destroy the automaton threat.
How about the selfie serving of freedom?
Allied destroyer has joined squadron. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
Round, fuck around, I fuck around. Yeah, fuck around, round, round, I fuck around. I fuck around, round, round, I fuck around.
Oh no. Oh dear. I fuck around, yeah. I fuck around, I fuck around. Woo! I fuck around.
Managed democracy.
Allied destroyer has left squadron.
The freedom to make the right choice.
Allied destroyer has joined squadron.
Conveniently, I just came back from eating dinner.
Convenient indeed.
Always good to have another hero on board.
Ready for another mission, HellDiver?
Just waiting for some more people. How you been doing though? How have you been doing?
Pretty good. How about you? Yeah, fair.
The galactic war waits for no one. Are you ready, HellDiver?
Actually, hold on. Let me host. Ay. Get dollar. John Madden.
Take command of the galaxy's brink.
No, exclamation mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, ayu.
The enemy has launched a cowardly attack against one of our planets. Will you defend
999. I'm laughing for real right now. 999.
Always good to have another hero.
Hala hala gadala. It's getting fucking warm in England, ain't it? Fuck it, it's getting warm. 23 degrees, bloody hell. It's getting a bit warm. I'm alright. I'm doing great, actually.
Ayu. Ayu.
Wir klatschen.
Ayu.
Can this shit stop crashing for once? I really need a new fucking CPU. Holy shit.
Super Earth.
Allied destroyer has joined squadron. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
Always good to have another hero on board.
The siege upon managed democracy continues. Let us rally to her defense.
Hello. What's up? Nothing much.
HellDivers, protectors of humanity, paragons of democracy, heroes to their very core. Do you have what it
Allied destroyer has joined squadron. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized. Allied destroyer has joined squadron.
Who's Varone?
He's a friend.
Mission coordinates
A
locked.
very horny friend.
Hellpods prime.
More than you?
You have no idea.
That's an achievement.
That kind of
concerning,
achievement.
to say the least. The audio session is full next.
Yes, someone slid in and took the last slot. You can stay though. We'll see how long he lasts.
What about here? Hellpod launch suspended.
I guess I'm just gonna wait. Of course, I'm always waiting.
Mission preparation aborted. Mission coordinates locked. Here?
Excuse me. What difficulty are we in again?
5.
Ah, okay. Huh? Okay. Should I bring the autocannon or the expendable?
Reminder, all personnel must submit weekly urine sample by 0400.
I wonder why.
Um. I'll bring the autocannon. Fuck
Launch initiated.
Go now and shoot you fall. Remember this. Every day is a good day to die for democracy.
Calling in orbital strike.
Requesting sentry! Sending down sentry.
Found something!
Bug tunnel breach! Requesting sentry. Get some! Get some!
Dropping a pin. Northwest, 100 meters. Tagging map. South, 300 meters.
Broken held on. Stay away.
Already?
Main objective nearby.
Ow.
I knew they wouldn't abandon us. Found something!
Anyone want a railgun?
Calling down a support weapon.
Dropping a pin. North, 300 meters.
Yeet. Ow. Ow.
Tunnel breach!
Must defend prosperity!
Marking location. North. Never mind. Bugs. Northeast.
Take liberty! Got it, sample!
Nakaya, go back with the other two.
Why?
Basically, the more people that are in one location, the more bugs will spawn in that location. We want all the bugs to spawn away from here. That way we cheat.
Yeah. Shit. Fucking hunter.
Bug tunnel breach! Requesting orbital. Heavy. West, 50 meters.
Sending in an eagle.
Requesting air support.
Protect us! Oh, we're safe now. It's really them.
Calling down a sentry.
You might want to patch yourself up, Zay.
Yeah.
Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
Ow.
Calling
This
down a
motherfucker
support
took
weapon.
half my health. What the fuck?
Requesting sentry. We knew you'd come.
Bug breach.
Yep.
Oh
I think I put my
fuck! It's
sentry
near
up, though.
me.
What?
The bug breach is on me.
Oh no.
We gotta look for it.
Another step towards galactic
Ah, don't
liberation.
matter.
You may extract with
Dropping a pin. South, 50 meters. Calling in extraction.
See how much faster it is when no bugs are disturbing you?
Calling down a sentry. Calling in orbital strike.
T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds.
Orbital inbound. Democracy has landed!
ETA T-minus 30 seconds.
Requesting sentry!
ETA
Requesting
T-minus 20
orbital strike!
seconds. ETA T-minus 10 seconds.
Calling down a sentry.
Bro, why?
Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates. Pelican 1 landing in progress.
Reloading you.
What the fuck?
I'm out.
I auto reload you in this mode.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna do the same, but you said
Pelican 1 preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Liberty has seen you through.
Let's go. Let's go, Sons for the Liberators. Yeah.
We fucking defended it.
Bless.
Freedom wins again. Always good to have another